Recording.
Excellent. Superb. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining us today on a Sunday afternoon. It's the first Sunday of September and Teachers' Day. And this is the 11th monthly meeting of the 10 Crore League. So if nothing else, what we've been good at is at being regular. So every Sunday since the last 11 months, we've been meeting. So a quick introduction for those of you all who are new here, that the 10 Crore League you're attending the meeting for the first time. The 10 Crore League was a brainchild of the lockdown. So we were thinking, how do we connect? What can we do? So we realized that people were getting more active with investing. There's a little more money during the lockdown and you're not going out. And a lot of interest in investments were going about. And people were looking for ways and means of figuring out how to do it, right? So why not do something to educate people? And we thought, making this community would be a great idea. However, education is available. Google is the best teacher. We're not trying to compete with the Googles of the world, but what we're trying to do here at the 10 Crore League is building a community where the focus is on building good money habits, good money behaviors, good money mindsets that can take you to this 10 Crore League. So 10 Crore League is a community of like-minded members who are looking at building this kind of wealth so that they can be a blessing to their family, to their society, and to their country, right? We do the right things. There are no shortcuts, there are no tips, and nobody's selling anything here. So it's a learning platform. We are sharing our stories. We are getting in speakers to talk about various topics of interest. And today we have something beautiful put together. So a couple of things, hygiene things, we do it in every meeting. So a few principles that we live by in the 10 Crore League. All members adhere or attempt to adhere to these principles, where we spend intentionally. In our family, we work as a team because it's a gadi that's running. You want all the four wheels aligned. We save like a pessimist and we invest like an optimist. And we keep our promises and we reach our goals. This is, of course, very critical. I don't have to tell you. More importantly, we eat healthy, we exercise, and we take adequate rest, because all this 10 crore money that we build, we don't want to go into the hospitals, right? So we take responsibility for our decisions and our destiny. We work with financial advisors. We take inputs from various sources, yet the decisions are ours. Our children are responsible with money, because if you actually manage to make this kind of wealth and you leave it behind for your children, they're going to inherit some serious money. So they better be responsible with the money. And you're filled with gratitude for whatever we have, and we give generously without any expectations. So these are some principles that we live by, and we've defined a simple 9-step process to 10 crores. So most of us know about this, but I'll quickly take you through. So wherever you are, so this is our belief in the 10 Crore League. We believe that wherever you are, if you do the right things with the right intent and with faith in the process, then 10 crores is possible for everyone. So this is a simple 10 crore process that most of us follow. We all identify ourselves as being in various steps, and as we move steps, then it's a reason for celebration. So the step 1, we get the first 1 lakh in cash for emergency. This is like if you're starting completely scratch and you're just about figuring out how to get on this journey. Step 2, you purchase your basic term life, health, and disability cover. Step 3, you pay off all your loans except the home loan. We understand that loans are like if you're trying to fill a pot of water with water, and there are a lot of holes in the pot, and then the water just leaks, and however hard you work to fill in the pot, it never fills up. So loans are those holes which we don't want. So we plug those holes at step 3. And step 4, we create a 6-month emergency fund. The kind of relief and the kind of liberation people feel when they have that 6-month money stashed away is immeasurable. So the first 4 steps are what will ensure that you don't get poorer. Forget getting richer, you won't get poorer. And once you cross these 4 steps, and then from the 5th step onwards, you start building wealth. So you're focusing on retirement, you're focusing on children education. And then at step 7, you attack your home loan and pay it off in full. Step 8, you focus on the 10 crore target, which is where all our investment options and asset allocation and all of that comes in play. And step 9, last but not the least, and one of the primary purposes of the 10 crore league is creating a giving plan, because we all know that money is only a tool to ensure that we live the life that we want. So it is our attempt to create more and more people who can become wealthy and become givers and become a blessing for their family, their community, and for the country. So I keep saying this all the time, the work that we do is nation building work, and we're very proud of the journey that, the little impact that we've been managing to make. So the community, as you see, is, we've not had a chance to meet physically. We would love to do that, but we are very active on WhatsApp. So there's a very, very active WhatsApp group community. People share their stories, their their knowledge bits, whatever programs they're attending, books that they read, and if they have questions, they put it up. And there is a group of people at different stages in the 10 crore league, right? They've had their own journey, so there's a lot of sharing of knowledge that happens there. So please join the WhatsApp group. Kajal will share the link here, so in case you're not already part of the group, so you're welcome to be part of that community. Any programs that we do will be first updated there, and there'll be a little ping there coming there to help you be on track. And of course, our Facebook, LinkedIn, blogs, and videos are periodically active, and we do monthly meetings. So this is something that we do. Everything else, whether we do well or not, every month on the first Sunday of the month at 3:30 in the afternoon. We know it's an odd time, but that's the test, whether you're serious about your commitment or not. That on a Sunday afternoon, if you turn up for these meetings, I know you're going to make it. So that's the first step. So we meet every month, and this is the 11th month we are meeting successfully. So please join. Kajal has joined, has shared all the links. So I'm so happy to see all of you here. So all of you can say a good hi, if you can, on the chat box. I'd be happy to, hear from all of you. Hi, Priya. Seema, yes. Lovely. Ganesh, I'm seeing you for the first time. Satish, yes, hi. You were asking for this session. Yes. Neelam, after a long time. Yay. Subodh, yes, hi. Paresh, yes, nice, Paresh. Neelakshi is here. Yes, thank you. Thank you for joining us. Guneet, yay. Guneet, yes, thank you. Thank you for coming. Yes, thanks in advance for this session. Amazing, Satish, you are. Thank you so much. Thank you, Cherry, and thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. So just to give you a quick download, we've been doing these 11 sessions, and we've covered a whole range of subjects. Okay, so like I told you at the beginning, the objective is to help build strong behaviors, good money habits. So the first session that we did last year in November was on budgeting and spending intentionally. The next session was on risk and emergency planning. So we're just following that 9-step process, if you can see that. And in Jan, we covered getting out and staying out of debt. This was a very controversial topic, and there was a lot of conversation happening. We did some mid-month quizzes, and then we did a very interesting session on visioning with a dear friend, Zenobia, who was kind enough to come and do a visioning session for us. Then we did some work on investing frameworks. How do we identify what the right asset allocation can be? We did a session with Amit Trivedi on equity investing in March. So this was it was an interesting session where he covered a lot of basics. We wanted a session 2, so when we go back and ask him if we'd like that. In April, we did a game with Kanak. So this was again very interesting asset allocation game through Kanak Jain. Kanak has been doing some amazing work throughout the country. In May, we did a little work on tax and family matters. In June, we did one on money beliefs with Mernosh, and we created an investment policy statement for ourselves. So that was a do-it-yourself activity. And in July, we did one on derivatives with Harish Menon. And in August, we did a nice session, lovely session on giving plans, the wills and succession planning with partners of Agama Law, Nitish and Archana. So we've come a little distance. We make these recordings available to people who will become members, and then we'll make that little system available for you short while. But if you're available here and in the meeting, I think that energy is amazing. So that's okay. So if you miss a meeting, you can always catch up with it. So no hard and fast stuff. So today, do we have Kajal? Do we have Anand here already? Can you see him?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. easier.
Okay, good. Nice. So today's session 11 on cryptos and NFTs. What's the deal about it? What's the big deal about it, right? So cryptos, we're crypto curious. Okay, that's a word that I read in the newspaper today. We're crypto curious. So that's this community. Anand, thank you so much for coming today for our session. Quick introduction. Anand Venkateshwaran, known in the crypto world as Troubadour. Okay, so that's his like how you have pseudonyms for writers. So Anand is a gold medalist, masters in communication and journalism. He's worked for CNBC. He's worked for the Hindu. He used to work for Polaris, Flex, and right now he is the head of communications at a software company based in Singapore called Lendroid. Okay, now don't ask me what Lendroid does. All that I gathered from their LinkedIn page is that it's a software company doing something in the crypto space. Okay, so that's Anand for us. But more importantly, Anand and his partner became very popular, very famous, and they were covered in all the newspapers. And even our own group members were sharing a lot of videos about this coup that they managed to pull off, which was a purchase of People NFT for some $69 million. Okay, it's an artwork that they purchased for $69 million in an auction. Right? Auction Christie's or something.
Yes.
Right?
On Christie's, yes.
Anand, on Christie's, and that made a splash of a news, two South Indian boys who managed to do this and all of that stuff. So Anand, we're very keen to understand what are you really thinking about it. Okay, so let me pin Anand here, stop sharing, and let's get Anand. Come on.
Hi. Good to see everybody. Thank you for having me, Bhuvana.
Yes. I mean, we're very excited. So Anand is a pretty cool guy, and just like most other people in the crypto world are. So Anand introduced me to Naimish, sometime last year, and we had a session on crypto that time as well. I mean, this whole crypto thing introduced to me during that session in Naimish. I did start investing a little bit in crypto, but it kind of made me a rebel amongst the financial advisors who were keeping away from this topic of, crypto. No, you don't understand it, don't do it. But I was the one saying, no, you can't be close-minded about it. You have to understand, at least open your mind to understand what it is all about. But it's, I mean, we don't want to make this like a classroom. Okay, Anand is. So, guys, feel free to put in your questions as and when in the chat box. Let's make it an interactive conversation. And Anand is no holds, okay, no stops. You say what?
Bring it on.
Bring it
no
on.
worries.
Right? Okay, thank you so much, Anand. So it's such a pleasure having you here. Okay, so let me start. I don't want I mean, of course, not a classroom. I'm not going to ask you what is crypto, what is NFT. Tell me something about your own journey. I mean, I know you started this whole thing back in 2013, 14 times, where you started.
Yeah, actually. No, it's weird because in one way, my journey is like a series of missed opportunities when it comes to crypto. Because it was 2013. I was a journalist at the Hindu. And I met Vignesh at that time. He was an app developer in Chennai at that time. Okay. He discovered Bitcoin then. And the amount of information that he had with him was enough to sort of give him wings and set him off on a journey of entrepreneurship in the crypto world. Wow. Incredible journey, basically. And he shared that information with me, but it left me completely unaffected. I understood the words that he was speaking, but I couldn't make sense of what he was trying to tell me. And it's the same case for most of us, in fact, when it comes to crypto. Yeah. So I have a lot of empathy for people who can't immediately identify with crypto or, sort of relate with crypto, which is entirely fine. It took me like 3 or 4 more years of meandering. I, quit full-time employment at some point. I went to, write about financial technology. I wrote about, software for banks across various verticals, retail banking, treasury management, and, also corporate banking and all of that stuff. I did advertising for some time. I wrote about supply chain finance. And then I started to get a sense of what all of this is about.
Mm.
And then, finally in 2017, we sort of reconnected, and he's been in touch with me all through,
Uh-huh.
telling me about the new startup he's done, how he became, one of the alumnus of the Y Combinator, uh, angel funding enterprise, and so on and so forth. And in 2017, we started to work together again on DeFi, which is decentralized finance. To me, crypto started to make sense, like real sense, only in 2020, when, because of the pandemic, we were all sort of forced to go inward. And I discovered the NFT space. All those abstract concepts of crypto that people tell you about, financial freedom, immutability, and all of that suddenly becomes more vivid through experience in the NFT space. So for me, a good entry point into crypto was the NFT space. You can enter the crypto space either purely through financial means or through financial instruments, or you can do it through something as simple as gaming or as collectibles or art, which I think is, in one sense, giving it a cultural shift, a sort of a cultural flavor, which makes it easy and more palatable. And through experience, you get to understand why crypto is important, or why it's different from what you experienced before. So the long and short of it, and sort of bringing it all back to this particular session, the way I understand it, this is about financial literacy, rather than finding some avenues to multiply your wealth. And in a sense, information is wealth and information is power. And there is a lot of difference between understanding a concept and putting money into it. I think the first part is extremely important. It tells you whether or not you need to get into it, or whether or not you need to put some skin in the game into it. So, kudos to you, Bhuvna, for setting up sessions like this, both with Naimish and myself, and for the group that you have in front of you, because it's very important to understand new technologies that are in the financial space. And there is nothing newer than crypto, nothing more powerful than crypto in that sense. So this, the long and short of it.
Okay, good. No, nice. So you said it took you 4 years to make sense of, the whole crypto world, right? So take us through that journey of, what actually made sense in this whole crypto world? What real life problem is crypto solving? Why is there value in it? Did these questions come to you? I grapple with the same questions. So how did you answer them for yourself?
Okay. See, one macro way of looking at it is crypto is a direct result of the 2008 global financial crash. There was a complete disillusionment, right, in traditional financial systems. Massive banks, which are considered the pillars of stability, the symbols of of goodness, of not screwing over the common man, turned out to be these villains ultimately. And so crypto sort of turned out to be an alternative to that. And the seed of the problem, obviously, is that all finance in the world is centrally controlled, right? Each governments control it, and they control the rates and so on and so forth. So crypto, in a sense, turned out to be an alternative to it. I could understand that at an ideological level. I got that, okay, we need an alternative, definitely, so that we don't have a repeat of 2008. And a repeat is coming, as everybody can sort of guess, in the US, and because of all those properties. So that is one aspect of it. The other, and it is undeniable in your day-to-day spending, is that if you're cash rich, you progressively tend to get poorer. If you're asset rich, you progressively tend to get richer. For instance, the 10,000 rupees in cash that you hold today are not going to be worth 10,000 rupees even 3 years from now, 4 years from now.
Right.
So we need some sort of an economic system which can act as an antidote to it, some sort of a deflationary system, which is not which is not controlled by arbitrary means by the government. Because we feel like it, we'll pump $1 trillion into the economy. That's very bad for the economy in the long term. It might seem like a good idea now, even during the pandemic, right? In the US, 20% of all of the currency printed ever in the history of the United States was printed in that 1 year, which is massively scary. So some sort of a counteractive to those things. So at an ideological level, it made sense to me. It started to. But again, I'm an Aam Aadmi. I worry about day-to-day spending and all of that stuff. And it's very difficult, because it's like looking at an engine and trying to imagine the potential of that engine for someone who's not an engineer at all. I can't make out what the parts are. I can't make out how they fit together exactly. And when somebody says that, with that motor or with that engine, suddenly tomorrow there will be high-rise buildings which are 200 floors tall. It's mind-blowing. That's practically what happened when the motor was invented. But it's very difficult for someone who's not an engineer to get into that space. For me, like I said, in 2020, when I was able to get in through the route of culture, through art, it started to make a lot of sense. Take gaming, for example, which is one of the biggest examples, or one of the biggest ways in which crypto is infused into NFTs. So typically in games like Fortnite or Roblox or any of those, I'm sure even if our audience right now don't play it themselves, they can ask their kids about it. Roblox is hugely popular. Any AAA games, people spend a lot of money to get in-game assets from that game. They can buy a gun, or they can buy a plot of land to play their game in, and all of that stuff. That is all owned ultimately by the company. They don't own any of it. But in the crypto space, you get to own all of your digital assets yourself unto eternity. Nobody can take it away from you. So that is like a primary shift in the concept of ownership itself. So through those things, right, through experience, rather, through art, through through gaming and all of that stuff, it started to make a little more sense. We'll get into it a little later as with follow-up questions based on your expression. But for me, at a macro level, you understand how I was able to relate to crypto, and at an experiential level, it starts to get even better because of the tools that we have today.
Okay, interesting. Very interesting. So you're saying that the real world problem of regulations in the economy, what we saw in 2008, and those as a counter to it, as a diversification strategy, as an alternate to an inflationary economy in which we are living in, the cryptos might make sense, right? So okay, so I mean, you're saying watching a video on that Venezuelan hyperinflation, and people have actually started using bitcoins as to buy bread and stuff. I mean, is that likely? Is there a likelihood in other parts of the world as well, or is it?
I mean, I can't see why not. I mean, see, my thing is, I never take a dystopian point of view when it comes to these things, though it is very much possible. In places where your currency is so volatile that it's impossible to peg anything to it, Bitcoin makes a lot of sense. Bitcoin is definitely volatile. Cryptocurrencies are definitely volatile. But if your home currency is worse, then this is better. It's as simple as that. When the US dollar doesn't work, or when Bitcoin doesn't work, I mean, when your own currency doesn't work, people peg it to the cryptocurrency. They just need something that is not very localized and therefore subject to a lot of volatility, but something that is sufficiently spread out, decentralized around the world, diversified sufficiently to take some hits, financial hits. So that's why it happens. But yeah, it's not just Venezuela. A lot of Latin American countries are, on the road to collapse. Brazil is not doing so well either. I mean, we had a few scares ourselves in India. I mean, demonetization was not a pleasant experience, and nor was the implementation of GST, for instance. So things like that also sort of give some shakes to the system. But as far as India is concerned, I wouldn't, sort of cry wolf and say, our economy is collapsing, so everybody should shift to Bitcoin. That's a very bad narrative. It's a bad idea to scare people into adopting a new technology. I think the most sensible way would be for them to just turn your head a little and look at it, observe it, and see if it makes sense to you. That's a better way rather than saying, the world economy is collapsing, Bitcoin is the only thing, pick up a flag today and go buy Bitcoin. Don't do that.
I think so. People stopped believing that anymore. But while we're coming to the gaming and using art and culture, we just come to that in a little while. I think Sharad has asked a question on it. Before we get there, a few more questions on crypto. Is that all right? So we get to understand NFTs as we go by, right? So, so they say the crypto, I mean, so right now as investors or as financial advisors, when we say crypto being part of an asset allocation or your portfolio and all, it's more about you trade, you just buy Bitcoins and hold and then wait for that price to go up. I don't even know what the underlying value of a Bitcoin is. Why is it going up? Why is it going down? There's no clue about all of that stuff, right? But they say that real money is in mining them. I mean, how does that work? I mean, do we as outsiders, do we just buy them and hold them, or can we actually mine them? So what is that world like?
Well, first of all, there are thousands of cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin is just the first of them. So that is step one. There are many blockchains, basically distributed ledgers all around the world. Mining basically is the concept of providing some computation power, basically lending your computer, your CPU, or your mining rig to the Bitcoin network. Basically, it's a distributed network. You're helping the network exist by providing computational power. That's all mining is. So in reward for you spending those resources, that energy and that computation power, the network allocates a little bit of Bitcoin to you. In early days, because there were fewer people in this space, the amount of Bitcoin you got was significant. But as it goes along, it tapers off a little by little. The amount of Bitcoin you get becomes lower. And because there are more people, fewer Bitcoins that you get. But because the value of Bitcoin is also increasing, it is still a lucrative, lucrative, business in a sense. But that requires a lot of technical savvy. And it also requires a lot of power and all of that stuff. But I would say it's not something we need to worry about on our day-to-day thing. And it is also important to look beyond Bitcoin at a certain stage. There are alternative blockchains also with alternative systems of how they exist. Bitcoin works on a proof of work system. Basically, the way the system sort of contends with the next block or agrees on something is by all of these individual nodes or computers in a system agreeing to the same thing. That is proof of work. We have solved this particular equation or this math problem, and all of us have got the same result. Hence, we can now move to the next step. That is proof of work. There are other systems like proof of stake, where you put skin in the game, where the individual nodes, they put in a portion of their tokens, Bitcoin tokens, into the system and say, I hereby certify or hereby guarantee that this is correct. If they if they say something wrong, or if they are malicious in their intent, everybody else would disagree with it and you would lose your token. So that is proof of stake. So there are a lot of systems, technical separations into this. Broadly, proof of work and proof of stake. Bitcoin is proof of work. There are some others which are proof of stake, like Tezos and other blockchains. I think instead of getting overwhelmed with this, it's first important to understand where you're trying to come from. Is it important for me to learn, how exactly a blockchain works, or what the technical details are? I would say no, it's not relevant. But is it important to me why it exists, and at least the basics of a distributed ledger technology? I would say yes, because only that will give you some sort of a differentiation, right? Why should I even look at it? So what is the difference between Bitcoin and say RBI's digital currency? The main difference is that RBI's digital currency is controlled centrally. It is controlled by the government, both the supply and also who has access to it. Bitcoin, on the other hand, is completely decentralized. Anybody from anywhere in the world can access that network and be part of it. That's all the two differences are.
Okay. Now so now RBI and then China wants their own digital currency. I mean, the whole idea of this crypto thing, of it being something that's not regulated, that's decentralized, like you can actually trade with, transact with countries, clients from, let's say, for example, I have a client from the US, they could actually pay me without going through the channel of whatever, right?
Yeah.
So
Natch or any of it. Yeah.
The global economy, when it's utopian, like how you say it, aspirational and all of that. But when the government gets involved and when they still want to make these silos and they want to regulate it, doesn't the whole premise just break down? I mean,
Yes.
what will be the role of regulations in how the crypto world pans out?
Utopia is a little scary, right? It's not, everybody wants freedom, but when they get it, they don't know what to do with it. That's the truth. And what you're seeing in the crypto space is basically free market at its best. There's nobody controlling it. There's nobody manipulating it. There is nobody trying to, slow it down when it is going scary fast. This is what the free market looks like.
Yeah.
The advantage is that there's opportunity for everybody. I mean, there's opportunity for a guy from Chennai, an app developer from Chennai, to invest in a high growth startup, like a super high growth startup like Ethereum, which has gone like 2000x since it started, right? That you don't get anywhere else. It's confined to only a handful of venture capitalist funds in the world to identify which those high growth startups are and have a lion's share in them. But this way, it gives access to everybody to invest in interesting things or be part of interesting stories. Obviously, the disadvantage also is that if enough number of people lose faith in something, it just plunges, it plummets as far as the token is concerned. That's the beauty of the free market. This is what a free market actually looks like. There is nobody like watching over you and saying, okay, I will take care of you when you fall. There is also nobody saying, I will help my 5 or 6 richest friends or people who know me personally to gain over other people who don't have that kind of information. Now the information is available to everybody. So that's a basic difference.
Okay. So you're saying they might adopt the technology, but the fundamental ethos of the crypto idea would be lost when regulations come in.
Correct. See, the truth is, Bhavna, it's impossible for anybody to enforce regulations on crypto. You can't do a blanket worldwide regulation thing, right? And so as long as the internet is around, crypto will survive. Nobody can shut down Bitcoin. That's the biggest strength. Just think about it for a second. Nobody can shut down Bitcoin. Nobody can shut down Ethereum. Nobody can shut down a cryptocurrency effectively unless it collapses or implodes on its own. So regulations are basically playing a game of catch up in very small pockets wherever they are involved. For instance, the same rules do not apply in India or Singapore or India and Sri Lanka or India and Pakistan or the US. Each of them have very different approaches to crypto. Crypto is completely okay and sort of well regulated in Singapore. It's completely ambiguous in India. It is sort of an L2 level of regulation in the US and in Canada. It's still like the Wild West in, say, a place like BVI or the Cayman Islands or Macau. So it's very different in that sense. And so if you either based on where you are geographically or what sort of a VPN connection you use, I mean, the effect of regulations are only that much.
Okay. So Harsh is asking, it can be banned in a country, or can there be restrictions on the way it is used? Like, for a short while, they were saying that if you are dealing in crypto, you're doing something that's illegal, right?
Yeah.
And they can actually put you in jail or something like that because you're dealing in crypto. Is that even possible?
I think so. Definitely possible. So it is a scary thought. Whenever you're adopting any sort of new technology, it is a scary thought. India can even tomorrow ban crypto. It can also pass rules that are retroactive. And say anybody who has dealt in crypto over the last 2.5 years, even if we haven't made it clear, now we are saying that what you did for the last 2.5 years was illegal, and they can ban us. So there's not much you can do other than keep proper records and hope for the best. Or right now, right, in a sense. So that's how regulations work, unfortunately, with any new system. It's the same thing with say unorganized lending, or the entrance of neobanks or anything of that sort. When it is new, it is possible to ban over it. In my instance, I would say even banning it outright would be sort of preferable to ambiguity, which we're currently experiencing. I mean, I would choose, one way, this way or that. At least we know for sure, that okay, you don't want us to get into it, fine, we won't, that
Okay,
kind of
I
a
can
thing.
leave the country. I can go to Singapore. Right? That's a decision you can
Kind
make.
of. Yeah, I hope I don't have to, but there
Yeah,
you are.
just saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Okay. So Sharad, I think that answers your question. It's not banned in India, but it's ambiguous. Like Anand made it clear. He'd
yeah,
rather prefer that it is banned rather than this ambiguity, right? But right now, there's no way of the government looks like they want to now bring it mainstream. They want to call it a commodity. They want to regulate it, right? So that's
yeah.
like the mood of the government, but you never know. You're right. Yeah, yeah, correct. So.
If it
So
does, one small thing, why I do sort of hold out hope when it comes to regulations is that I have a lot of faith in India's ambition, because I think we missed the IT boom when it
yeah.
initially happened. And because of that, we've been relegated to the back office functions,
Mm.
where the rest of the world became the entrepreneurial leaders in the IT fields. India was seen as a back office. But with crypto, we have an opportunity to sort of rephrase that narrative. There are incredible coders in India, obviously, I mean, personal examples included, that are potential leaders in the field. So India can take a leadership position when it comes to crypto this time around and not miss the bus. So I have faith in the fact that the government will recognize that we have a lot of potential and access to global capital at an unprecedented scale. So I think these two things sort of help me hold out hope.
Okay, good. Great. So this on the crypto space, one big reason why there is this fear that crypto might get banned or whatever is I was just dropping into another clubhouse meeting on this crypto conversation where people were saying that crypto is primarily used where fiat money is not accepted, like in drug or trafficking or whatever, and that's where most of this crypto money goes, and this is all not good for the society, and so some such conversations happening, and precisely the reason why the government may look at banning it and stuff. So what are your thoughts? Is that what its primary use case is?
I wouldn't call it the primary use case, but it is definitely a popular use case. But the most popular mode of transaction in any legal activity in the world today is cold hard cash, because of its untraceability and lack of e-trails that are there. So I mean, there is an urban myth, and I think there is a pinch of truth to it, that every US dollar ever printed has traces of cocaine in it, because it has passed through the drug system. It's true, unfortunately. So I wouldn't say that crypto's primary use case is this, but any new technology that comes into the space, including telecommunications and the internet, were initially used for nefarious purposes. It is only later on that the rest of the world catches up to its true potential. Like when the internet was initially sort of introduced, who would have thought that you could have something like Google Maps, or satellite communication, or you could do generative art, or even create something incredible like the blockchain. All of that is hard to imagine, and that happens over a period of time. But the immediate use cases obviously is that, okay, there's I can connect with anybody in the world, I can transact with them, let's do something illegal. That's the first go-to for a very enterprising percentage of our population. So that'll happen. But there's massive potential here beyond that.
Okay. So we get the real world will have to start, the good world will have to start understanding and adopting it, okay, good. Yeah, I mean, it's always true, right? The criminal mind is always a couple of steps ahead. True. Good, great. So this, what do you think, while we still want to understand NFTs and the cultural aspect of this whole blockchain in just a little while, why do you think the cryptos it's not new, right? 2008 is almost 13 years ago, right? It's not, I mean, we still can't call it like a new technology anymore. It's almost like a middle-aged, a teenager technology, right? So it's having a mind of its own. Why is there still resistance to adopt it? I mean, what is your sense? Why is there still a smaller segment of people who are part of the crypto world and a large population out there which is outside, like us, who just peeping in to find out what's in there? I mean, why do you think?
I think the adoption has been really quite impressive so far. But there are two reasons for what you just mentioned. One is that the space itself is evolving at a frightening pace. I mean, both technologically and in the complexity of financial instruments that have come into this space. It's almost like dog years, right? Every human year is equal to 6 dog years. So crypto is kind of like dog years in that sense. So the evolution and cycle times of new technologies coming in and peaking and failing and another iteration coming up is like incredibly fast. So people find it hard to grasp. If like a lot of us, if we want to start at the first step and say what is the blockchain, and then try to go all the way to Bitcoin, altcoins, the ICO boom, DeFi, NFT, by then it would have moved another segment completely. So that's one area of friction. The other part is that this is again completely decentralized, right? People gravitate towards it on their own. There is no government sort of preaching it to their people. There is no massive global conglomerate which is trying to advertise its way into your homes and into your handheld phones. So it's completely organic. I think it's a combination of these two reasons that makes adoption relatively slow.
But I mean, despite which, I think the adoption for cryptos have been faster than any other technology's adoption, in the history of mankind, right? So that's great. So let's understand another thing. Okay, so there is Bitcoin, and then there is Ethereum, and then there is altcoin, and then there is some dodgy coin and some meme coins. And I mean, how are they differentiating each other? I mean, what really? First thing, we haven't worked our head around what really is this Bitcoin. How are we going to use it? Okay, very frankly, my understanding. I'm going to buy Bitcoins and keep them. Tomorrow, what if it becomes a medium of exchange, and then I don't have anything, and this will come in handy. So that's all is my objective, right? Now, uske under, then you create some more complexities and say, okay, instead of Bitcoin, you buy Ethereum also. You buy this something else also, right? How are they differentiating? What is the difference? How do we make sense of this multiple?
It's just like you described, right? I mean, Bitcoin is not complicated at all. It's very, very simple. It's almost like a single-celled organism. It's just a store of value. Initially, it was intended as maybe a currency, an actual currency for remittances from here to there, to make it to basically remove the middleman. So I can send 10 rupees to you without having to depend on a payment gateway, a government authority, and a third system sitting between me. I just want to send 10 rupees to you with maybe a tiny fee to the people that make the system possible. That's the whole idea of Bitcoin. But now it has evolved into a very stable, stable might be stretching it a bit, but a very strong store of value. You can look at it as digital gold, in one sense. Ethereum, on the other hand, is a platform which is programmable, as in people can create apps on that platform. That is why it is so popular. Like, it is programmable. People are able to come into Ethereum, create more coins of their own, or they are able to create financial instruments like derivatives, like margin trading, even to a certain extent, like lending, or even like gaming. They're also able to create CryptoKitties and gaming and all of that. All of it dependent on a distributed network rather than on a centralized network. That is why Ethereum becomes popular. The idea of altcoins is an old one. That statement, basically, anything that is an alternative to Bitcoin was called an altcoin. So the Doji coin came, and a whole bunch of 100 other coins. The concept was the same, like Bitcoin. Obviously, 99% of them failed because Bitcoin is Bitcoin. The others are copies of Bitcoin without adding any extra value. But there are interesting projects like Ethereum, and even built on Ethereum, which have very clear differentiators. They have a particular purpose that they want to play. For instance, there are projects that are focused on prediction mechanisms. There are projects that are focused on, like I said, compound finance, for instance, or lending, for instance. So these all have bring out a specific problem, and they are trying to solve it through the app that they've made. And the token that they represent is like a combined pool of capital that represents them. And everybody that owns that token practically becomes a shared owner of that protocol itself or of that platform. So when we look at a new token, it's always sensible to look at the project that has launched that token, what the problem is that that project is trying to solve, and if it is really doing a good job of it. How long has it been around? Just like you would vet any company that you want to invest in or buy shares of, right? What's the leadership team like? What is their background? What is their competence in this space? How much have they accomplished so far? Is this going to be sensible? And then you sort of look at them. Actually, there is no confusion as such. What the reason we get overwhelmed often is that we are suddenly exposed to a new world which we did not expect would be so big or so varied. That's all. Otherwise, the
Yeah.
rules of this world are practically the same. If you want to invest in something, you still do the same amount of due diligence, you still do the same amount of research, you still see the problem that they're trying to solve without even having to get very deep into the nitty-gritties of the technical architecture of that company.
Okay, so I mean, the Ethereum, of course, you're saying creates little more value than just being a medium of exchange. Like you in the
Yes.
Ethereum world, you can start creating your own products and projects. Okay. So help us understand this. That question Sendil is asking is what is the underlying value? What is the underlying value of a cryptocurrency? Like this is a very classical financial advisor question, right? We want to understand there must be fundamental value. There must be a business that is creating value to people, and that's why you're paying, money for that. Like basic economic unit, what is the value, right? So, you want to answer that question?
Yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, it's pretty simple, right? When it comes to Ethereum, it is simple. The underlying value is probably the cumulative value of all of the apps that are built on top of that system, the kind of transactions that happen on that system, the uses and the utility of that network in enabling all of these apps and these transactions sort of create that value. But that said, ever since say 1971, when the gold standard was abolished to back a particular currency, underlying value has always been an abstract term, right? It's just what a collective agrees the underlying value is, or the government sets a value at. So this is no different. It's scary for you only because it's dependent on the free market rather than one government, whether it is US or the Switzerland, saying, this is the value of Bitcoin. That's why it's scary. Otherwise, it's no different from any other currency on the planet. If you wanted to attach a value to it, you can attach all kinds of value to it, either utility wise or the collection of assets which exist on that platform. You could accumulate them, but I would say the sensible thing to recognize would be that the value of any currency is practically the same. It's what the collective agrees it is.
Yes, what the collective agrees is it. So Sendil, I think does that answer your question? So, I mean, how do you value, what's the underlying value of the Indian rupee, and why is it 72 rupees and not 45 rupees against the dollar, right? So it's just the collective agreement that we all agree now we pay 72 rupees for every dollar, right? So, okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting, right? So now let us into the NFT world a little bit. While whatever you told us a little about tokens and all, we kind of lost you somewhere. We were with you, I think we were, most of us were with you until you started talking tokens. So help us understand, what is this tokens thing? I mean, what is this?
NFT is very simple. Yeah. It's basically just a digital pointer. It is a certificate on the blockchain which says, this person A owns this asset. That's all.
Okay.
The beauty of that certificate is that nobody can mess with it. That is all it is. So, because it is on the blockchain, nobody can change the name. Nobody can say that it got destroyed in a fire. Nobody can lose it. It just exists, and it establishes ownership between a person or a particular entity and a digital asset. The digital asset can be anything. It can be a work of art. It can be a plot of virtual land. It can be, say, an in-game asset like a sword inside a game, or something of that sort. It can be anything practically. That's all. That's what an NFT is. NFT is basically a non-fungible token. The other tokens I spoke to you about, the altcoins and all of those are fungible, just like the Indian rupee or the US dollar. 1 rupee is equal to another rupee. A non-fungible token is a unique digital asset. It's like I can make a virtual copy of my glasses. They would be unique, right? Nobody else owns these glasses. Another copy of this glass would be another copy. It wouldn't be equal to this one. Unique digital asset. That is what an NFT is. But you can't confuse the certificate with the actual asset. The actual asset is something that exists. NFT is special because it certifies that this person owns this particular asset. That's all. What makes it fascinating is that NFTs first came into being as a concept in 2015 or 16, but in 2017, somebody created a game with NFTs, basically calling it Crypto Kitties. Very simple, like childish game. There's a bunch of cats with separate traits. Some cats are fat, some have special whiskers, or this one and that, and you can combine two cats to get a third cat of a combined set of those traits or some special traits. So some of those traits might be really common, and some special traits might be super rare. You get only 1 in a million, or 1 in 10,000 or something like that, making that cat like really precious. Chumma a game basically. So they launched it like super fun and all that, but somewhere around October in 2017 or November, the Ethereum network froze because there were so many people playing that game at the same time that it choked the network. So it said two things. One, it was another short warning that the Ethereum network was not scaling properly, because even today it does not scale well. The number of transactions per second on Ethereum are like 10, which is like horrible. Which is why some transactions, the cost of a transaction is $900 to do some significant transactions on Ethereum. So that was one of the early warning signs. The other fact that it demonstrated is that people love engagement. They're not in the crypto space just to spend and make money. They want to have some fun with it. They want to try new things. They want to experiment new things. So there's a taste for culture on the Ethereum network. So I think
okay, you muted.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So that was like a superb indication, and from there on, things like started to take off. Right. A lot of artists started to get into the crypto space because Ethereum and the NFTs basically offered them an alternative economic model which was never existing before. Think of the idea of royalties, for instance. For hundreds of years, artists have been fighting for royalties for their art. Somebody would buy their art for like 200 rupees today, wait 10 years and sell it for 200,000 and not give the artist a single penny. But in crypto, you can programmatically code your royalties into it so that every time your work of art is sold, 10% of that comes back to them. So a lot of artists started to come into the space. A lot of gaming, enthusiasts started to come into the space. So exactly for this reason, gaming enthusiasts spend hundreds of, thousands of dollars every year on buying those in-game assets. Okay, I've reached level 2. To go to level 3, now I definitely need that extra sword or that gun, those extra pair of cool boots or that swag. Otherwise, I can't go there. So they spend money. But then the game makers decide that, this game is not doing so well. The snap of their fingers, they erase all of that, and you don't own anything. You're just pouring money in a pay to play model, and the game makes all of the profits. You don't get anything. But in the NFT space, everything that you pay for, you own, and you can sell yourself later on, but you own it, and nobody can take that away from you. So these interesting concepts, when you actually start to experience them, they start to make a lot of sense. And there are so much all of these other concepts of these financial instruments, they start to slowly get under the skin of these gaming environments itself. They're abstracted, and they become a real part of the crypto. I'll give you one real world example. I know all of this might sound virtual, but during the pandemic, thousands of people lost their jobs, and Philippines was no exception. But in one particular area, I think in the city of Manila itself, suddenly a lot of people started to play this game called Axis Infinity. Right? It's a blockchain based game with a play to earn model. So if you play the game well, you get tokens from the game, and those tokens can be redeemed for actual money, obviously, because of the value of those assets. So people who had lost their jobs during the pandemic and couldn't make ends meet suddenly found themselves earning in excess of $500, $600 a month, which is more than enough to support a family of three, right, in the Philippines. And this is a true story. It was recorded by journalists from CoinDesk and from international media as one of the biggest examples of alternative economic models. Otherwise there is no other way for them to pull themselves out of poverty, because and like India, a large portion of the Philippine economy is full of MSMEs, right? That category of industries which all suffered during the pandemic. So this is why the NFT space itself is so fascinating and interesting. It changes the idea of ownership, and it also applies new and interesting economic models in creative pursuits, not just purely financial ones.
So you're saying in the physical world, these people were not able to make money because of the lockdown. Say they moved on to a digital world and then they made money.
Yes.
Interesting.
I know of at least 10 artists personally who lost their jobs during the pandemic and have now bought houses or paid off loans with the money that they made in crypto.
Okay. Now you're giving us ideas. Now we're all going to leave our jobs and then try and find out how.
No, please don't. But but I can share stories of these people. They are real, and it's easy for them because in the Philippines the government is still sort of agnostic to crypto, so they've let it be. In the UK or in the US, it is regulated. You pay your taxes, but you can still earn in crypto. They were able to do that there.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So there are a few questions, and I'm going to take them, Anand, before we try and move into your idea of this people thing. Okay, we want to know what you were thinking when you did something like that, right? Okay. Now, question is, so these gaming things, that tokens and all that, sword and all that you buy, you actually have to give like INR money or dollar money to buy those assets, is it?
Yeah. Ethereum. You can, today you can buy them with your credit card, or you can buy them through cryptocurrencies like Ethereum, like USDC.
Okay, so you use your money to buy Ethereum and then use Ethereum to buy these.
Yes.
Games. Okay. So you keep collecting Ethereum and you keep them in your bank. It's like your money, right? And then you use them to buy all of these digital assets.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Or an alternative is also to get into it via the, say, a play to earn model. If you're like a really superb gamer, you approach one of these gaming outfits or these gaming teams, you play for them and you earn crypto. Earning crypto is always more fun than putting your own money into crypto and trying to get it out.
Correct. Yeah. So you go and earn in that currency, right? Okay. So whatever people are willing to pay for, right?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. So I'll take these questions one by one. Then I have myself some more questions as well. So Sharad asks, when we buy stuff in a game using real money, the company makes money, but the player gets to own the digital assets forever. Is that true?
The player gets to own the digital asset forever. That is true.
Okay. No, but this sword is useful only in this particular game, right? If that game closes, then what do I do with the sword?
The game won't close, no, as long as again the internet exists, because it's decentralized, because the game is now collectively owned by 1,000 people, 5,000 people. Okay. Even then, there is already an inherent value in those assets. They won't disappear with the game.
Okay. As long as people are playing, the game will exist.
Yeah.
Okay. Harsh is very, very worried about this ban. Okay.
Mm.
He keeps asking this question. And what happens if the government bans it or puts restrictions, then digital assets will be of no use.
You and me both, brother. We're both worried about it. That's okay. I think it's the nature of these things. I'm not overly worried. Right now, it is not banned. It is not illegal either. So, always exercise caution, exercise prudence in how you handle these things, and you should be fine.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's dangerous, but go and play it. That's what Anand is saying. Right? Okay. Okay, good. There are more blockchain coins. Which crypto to choose and why? Is that a question you want to answer? There are different.
Yeah, there is this acronym in the crypto space called DYOR, which means do your own research. That's very important. Uh, Look at a coin. Don't listen to anybody that says, go buy this coin, it's doing well. Without looking at the underlying project, without checking out the team, without seeing their track record of what they've done so far. And if you're convinced, then go into it. If you don't understand it, don't go into it.
So you're saying when you choose a coin to buy, it's like choosing a stock.
Yes. If you don't understand the stock, it makes no sense to go and buy it, does it?
So do your own research, guys. DYOR. What we do here is only introducing to new concept. This is not going to be a a 101. It's not going to be a certified course. But pick your interest, open your mind to it, and then let you go out there and figure out things yourself, right? So Nilakshi is saying, how does one invest in crypto and collect profits? Well, Nilakshi, okay, there are exchanges through which you can buy crypto in India. So you want more information, I can tell you. Anand, you want to share anything on good exchanges where you can deal with crypto?
I think you must have covered that in the Naimish segment. I think there are many exchanges. Try and also use some decentralized exchanges like Uniswap and whatnot. So those are also options.
Okay. There are some Indian exchanges as well where you can transfer INR and then buy the coin. Okay. But I like this idea of don't just use your fiat money to buy them, go and earn crypto, right? So
yeah.
Does non-fungible mean it can't be broken down into smaller units?
That's an interesting question, actually. No, it does not mean that it can't be broken down into smaller units. There are 2 or 3 ways to go about it. I mean, when you have a token, you can break it down in terms of, say, access. For instance, like renting out a virtual plot of land or a virtual building to somebody is one way of breaking it down, right? You can say, okay, I will rent out this building for person A so that he can just come in and look at it and go. I can rent it to person B with the right to modify its structure. He can rebuild it and go. That is one way of breaking it down. Another way of breaking down something that's non-fungible is to fractionalize it. Is one way to do it. So you put it in a smart contract, you lock it up in a place, and you make, say, 100 or 1,000 shares of that one asset. Say it's a really expensive asset like a Beeple piece or something like that, $100,000. You fractionalize it into, say, 1,000 tokens, and each of them valued at $100. And people who own them now collectively own that asset. And if they're able to sell it at a higher price, they benefit because they've got that kind of a thing. So yeah, it does not mean that an asset cannot be broken down, but you're not actually breaking down the asset. That's very important to understand. You're only breaking down the ownership of that asset. That is important to understand. Yeah.
Company share. Okay, good. Okay, so you're not breaking down the company, you're just sharing the ownership. Okay, that's great. Okay, good.
Yeah.
So Sharad is asking regarding the game example. In an NFT scenario, if I own a digital asset, but the game company shuts down, how does the asset help? It would have no value outside the context. I think this is what we answered, right? You think there is an alternate answer to this? The gaming company won't shut down.
See, value of an NFT has, it comes from multiple places. It's not just the utility that happens inside the game. It is also the cultural significance of an asset. Like, if you're into collectibles, it's like owning the first set of WWF cards that came out, or the first set of cricketing legend cards that came out, that kind of a thing. Because they are unique assets and they can't be replicated or copied, you still have something that's precious. And a lot of collectibles that you see today, you might want to research something like, say, CryptoPunks, have no utility at all. They're just an experiment of 10,000 collectibles that were generated as one of the early experiments of art on the Ethereum network.
Okay.
Now, the base price of every CryptoPunk, and there are 10,000 of them, is in the millions of dollars. So you see, there might be value might come from something else, but again, just as easily, the asset that you own today and which you bought for a lot of money might be worth nothing tomorrow also.
Okay. Just like how you buy a share, right? So I'm just trying to draw those comparisons here.
No, this one is an asset. It's like buying a physical painting from a painter, for instance. For you, it's valuable. So you paid 10,000 rupees for it, to that artist. Nobody else that comes and sees it in your house might think it's worth 10,000, which is fine. But at the end of the day, you still have that asset, right? And here's a key differentiator between NFTs and other tokens, right? When you invest, a whole lot of money into tokens and the token price crashes, you're left with actually zero. You've got nothing in your hands. On the other hand, when you invest in an NFT, a digital asset, you do so because of some sort of a cultural affinity with that. If it's a work of art, yes. If it's a gaming asset, because you get that game and because you think it's precious. Even if there are no takers tomorrow, even if there is no discernible value, you still have something that you value and it's still tangible to you. So I think that's an important distinction between NFTs and tokens.
NFTs are also tokens.
Yeah, NFTs are, unique digital assets, let's call them, which are, NFTs are those certificates of ownership.
When you say tokens, do you mean the Bitcoins and altcoins? And
Yes.
When you say tokens,
cryptocurrencies. Yeah, I mean cryptocurrencies. Yeah.
Okay. So Rashmi wants to know, what games can we play to earn crypto?
Axie Infinity is a good start.
Okay.
There's a bunch of others. There is Formula One Delta Time. That's another game that you could go and play. These two are the big ones. Beyond that, I'd say DYOR.
DYOR. Okay, do your own research. Okay, good, nice. So Nilakshi is asking a very interesting question. She's an author. She's a movie maker, and she owns a character. So can I own a character in a film or a story via an NFT?
I think you can.
Yeah,
absolutely. Anything can be an NFT.
Anything can be an NFT. Interesting. So Amitabh Bachchan has his own NFT tokens, right? I think. That was on news a couple of days back.
Yeah.
Okay, so how can cryptos like Tether that are linked to USD and other currencies guarantee their value when they have no control on the USD itself?
Well, it's like currencies like, say, DAI or Tether are typically backed by other currencies. They have a pot of assets whose value determines the value of the Tether currency. And there is also a mechanism where, very much like a centralized government, where you control the supply, the total supply of a currency to sort of control its value. Tether and USDC and DAI, the value of each unit of their currency is equal to the US dollar. They're pegged to the US dollar. They're called stable currencies in that sense. So to retain their value, they do one of two things. They either add assets into the common pool. It could be a mixture of assets. It could be Ethereum. It could be other coins as well. And they also control the total supply of the currency. For instance, they burn tokens which are excess in supply and remove them from the market to make sure that the value is kept up.
This does not comply to the general ethos of the crypto world, right? Where it's a free market.
Depends. I'd say Tether is not not decentralized by any stretch, but something like USDC or DAI, which is part of the MakerDAO network, is truly decentralized because that pool of assets is collectively owned. It's not centrally controlled.
Okay, being collectively owned, what makes it decentralized, right? There's no one authority.
Yes.
Okay, so Jacob says at the beginning, you said mining crypto is by providing computing power to solve equations or problems. What problems or equations are solved?
What problems are equations? Mathematical equations, basically. Complex mathematical equations to prove that it requires computational power to solve those equations, and it requires consensus to solve those equations. So only when there is a consensus of a particular solution to these mathematical problems, it is agreed that okay, the information that is recorded on this particular block of the chain is accurate. Now we move on to something else.
Okay, now you have to help me understand this. He says we are giving computational power so that we can mine some coins, right?
Yeah.
So the computational power is for making the blockchain work, is it?
Yes.
The computational power of the problems of the blockchain technology for it to run smoothly.
You're not solving the problems of the blockchain technology. It's not abstract. You're actually solving mathematical problems. That is how it works. That is the engine by which it works. So there is one problem which is generated, and everybody who's part of the network has to solve that mathematical problem by providing computational power. Only then you get a consensus. No, everybody's saying yes, and the manner in which they say yes is by solving that mathematical problem, and then the network moves on to the next stage. So you're not like troubleshooting, not in that sense of problem solving. You're actually solving mathematical equations.
Okay, and these mathematical equations help run the blockchain technology.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, it's like writing the right code to get this going, something like that.
Pretty much. And your system does the work for you. It's not like you have to, Bhuvana has to sit and, think about the theory of relativity or Raman's principle to solve.
No.
You're just providing power. That's it. But it used to be laptops. Now it is like massive rigs in a warehouse, usually in places like Iceland, so that the temperature of all of that stuff can be kept cool. Okay. But you don't have to. Yeah.
Okay. Just in case you're thinking that you can offer your laptop and then start mining coins, not possible. You have to own.
Not possible.
No. Okay. Got it.
Not anymore. Sorry.
That ship has passed. You should have picked this up in 2008, right? Yeah, good. Okay, so we hear coders. So Sriram is asking, we hear coders spend incredible number of hours to mine data, and hence there is this school of thought of its alternate universe isn't sustainable from an energy consumption. I mean, I think Elon Musk's tweet about this whole thing did one massive jig in the price of coins, right?
Yeah. I mean, Elon Musk, the thing is, at least he doesn't differentiate. Yeah, he does the same thing to his own stock, so I admire him that way. So it's not just Bitcoin, he does it to himself. The idea of energy consumption or sustainability would be myopic when you look at the crypto space. If you look at the alternative to crypto, or I wouldn't call it competitor, but the problem that it's trying to solve, which is the banking industry, the amount of energy which is consumed through the paper trails, through the physical presence, through the transactions, through the networks is just mind-bogglingly immense compared to what happens on these few mining rigs on crypto. You have to weigh the benefits of removing the middleman by giving access to underrepresented countries, by ease of transaction, and by the kind of store of value it is against the amount of energy that it consumes. So I'd say, take those criticisms with a pinch of salt, and again, DYOR. I'm sure you'll come up with a lot of answers there.
Yeah, absolutely. Good. Okay, so Sharad wants to know, you mentioned Fortnite. Does it mean that Fortnite is not a single entity? Is it a decentralized ownership?
No, I mean that Fortnite is centralized. It is a single entity.
Okay, Fortnite is centralized. Something else is decentralized.
Yeah.
Vivek wants to know, if an NFT can be broken into smaller units, does it mean that if I pay for the smaller unit, can be further sold at a higher price if the demand increases? Can I just deal with it like a stock, right, for the entire asset?
You can't. When you fractionalize something, you're basically creating units of equal value across the board. So it's like, again, you're making a currency or a token out of that initial asset. So it would be worth the same. All of those units would be worth the same. You can't sell your 1 rupee for 2 rupees elsewhere. It's like that.
Obviously, but then when the whole asset value increases, that's my 1 rupee.
The value of your, yes.
Works like a share, right? So
Yeah.
then I can't, whatever is agreed price by everybody, but if the overall price of the asset goes up, then I get a share. Okay.
Yeah, works like a share. Yeah.
Okay. How does NFT work in art, painting, a piece of music, a story, a film? So I think that's going to be an interesting conversation, because what Anand strongly feels about is the cultural aspect of NFTs. We'll just come in just a little while. So she also wants to know, one needs to add NFT as IP when negotiating with an OTT platform. IP mediums can be audio platforms, OTT, online TV channels. An author, writer, creator needs to negotiate his or her rights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's complex. See, art is more simple than music when it comes to IP and rights. So art is straightforward. It is predominantly static, and it is relevant only to that one person. Music, on the other hand, is meant to be mass consumed. So it's very difficult to infuse IP rights into that. But that said, NFTs become very powerful capsules of IP and also of culture. Right? They are basically time capsules. So if you record a song or a work of art on an NFT, it exists as long as the internet is alive, which is very powerful, right? It doesn't mean that tomorrow if YouTube is shut down, my video is gone, or tomorrow if my warehouse burns down, all my art is gone. If it is on the blockchain, it is like permanently on the internet as long as it revives. So that's a very powerful aspect of the NFT space, according to me. IP is an ongoing discussion. It is a very important discussion. To an extent, it has been solved when it comes to art, but it is still sort of very evolutionary and fluid when it comes to gaming and music and other IP rights.
Okay. So Guneet wants to know if having videos as NFT, can it help curb piracy? Will it help?
Well, I don't think anything will help curb piracy, because people who can make copies will continue to make copies. But the one advantage with NFTs is that you can establish which one is the original. That's the biggest advantage you have. I mean, you can't rip off anything that's made in the NFT space. And in fact, that's where NFTs can sort of meld into the physical world as well. Bhuvna and I were chatting about Vignesh's digital infused jacket. Basically, all it contains is an RFID chip, which is connected to an NFT, which is on the blockchain, which establishes beyond all doubt that the jacket you're wearing right now is the original piece, and it is exclusive because it is tied to something on the blockchain. Okay. On the other hand, if somebody gives you a Prada bag, you don't know if it is Prada or Prado with some extra modification made like 2 streets away somewhere, right? So those aspects, those problems are real problems that artists also face today, and which can be solved with NFT technology.
Okay. So Puneet, does it answer your question? Okay, so we're going to go into understanding this whole NFT art people thing. So how did you come up with this idea of buying an expensive piece of art like that? And what were you thinking? Is it something that you did out of love for the art, or was it an investment decision? So tell us.
It can't be. I mean, it can't be a straightforward investment decision, right? Because think about it. If we try to sell it today, who's going to buy it from us? Right? And it can't have been an investment decision because we had no idea that it was going to go for $69 million.
Give us a quick download of what are we talking about now? So like I told you guys, Anand and Vignesh, they bagged this Beeple's piece of art, the 5,000 days, right?
The first 5,000.
The first 5,000 days is a beautiful piece of art of an artist who drew every day for the last 13 years a piece of art, and he put it together and he called it the first 5,000 day piece of art. And he put it up on auction, and Metapers, of which Anand is the steward, they picked it up in an auction, and they paid something like $69 million equivalent Ethereums.
Yes.
So tell us a little more about how did you come up with that idea of buying that piece of art?
Sure. See, the importance of that work of art was undeniable as far as we were concerned on two or three levels. One is we have been massive fans of people for the months preceding because of this very interesting ethic that he brings to the space.
Art Beeple is an artist.
Beeple is an artist, US based artist.
Okay.
His name is Mike Winkelman, but his pseudonym in the art space is Beeple. That's the name that he uses. Like Bhuvna has said, he's been putting out one work of art every day consistently, and that's incredibly powerful. Right? Think about it.
Yes.
On his sick days, on his healthy days, on his good days, bad days.
Yes.
You know, even on the day that his wife went into labor, he still put out that work of art. And that was a very powerful and evocative message to us. We were fans of his. The other thing is that NFTs as a movement or as a phenomenon was barely 6 months old, at least in at that time, to that extent. As a phenomenon since the beginning, it was hardly 2 years old, and the scale that we were witnessing was less than 6 months old. That pump. Even so, a 230-year-old organization like Christie's, which is considered the pinnacle of auction houses, sort of pivoted and tried to adopt NFTs onto its platform. And this was the very first exclusively digital work of art and an NFT on a 230-year-old platform, which was going up for auction. So for us, we thought, the only way or the only sense it made was for us to bid on it and bring it back to the metaverse, to the NFT space. That if it went anywhere else, it would be completely underappreciated and would break the ethos of what the NFT space represented. So we went for it. It was not easy because first of all, what is the ceiling that you could put to that kind of a thing? The previous record for highest sold NFT was also ours. We had bought a set of Beeple pieces for $2.2 million, the December last. And, after that, somebody bought another Beeple piece for say $5 million or something like that. So what could you expect would be the, ceiling price of a work of art like that? So we were thinking, okay, maybe 10 million, but we were scared to even put a ceiling or number in our heads. So we simply worked. And look, when it comes to Metaverse, all the money is Vignesh. My job is only to play the be the devil on his shoulder and say, yes, let's go and do something interesting like that, is to identify ideas like this and push him towards it. So we work towards enabling Christie's to give us an open playing field, to not constrict us in any way, because that is arbitrary. Again, we found in crypto, nobody tells you what to do with your money or how much of money you can spend. In Christie's, they can say you can only spend this much, because a higher segment is reserved for people who have been buying at Christie's since their great grandfather's time. So it's very arbitrary, the limits that they can impose on you. So our focus was to basically forge a relationship with Christie's and say, dude, just get out of our way, let us do our thing. So that's what we worked on, and it happened to be 69 million, so we had to pay 69 million. If it were 20 million, we would have been just as happy to bring that back home.
Of course, okay. But do you think it was a good price to pay? What are you going to do with that piece of art now?
See, what's happened is it has kicked open a lot of doors, hasn't it? I mean, it's become a moment in history now, the purchase of the Beeple piece. It's kicked open a lot of doors. It has given us access to some wonderful artists around the world, wonderful creators who we enjoy working with today. So I think the reflected glory from something like that is way more powerful than trying to monetize it. Monetizing it would be, I don't know, sort of short-sighted and lacking in imagination. What we are going to do with that piece is to give it a permanent virtual home. We are creating something in Decentraland with architects based out of New York, who are currently building the Perlman Performing Arts Center at the World Trade Center.
Okay.
So we're working with those people to create a bespoke building, a design for the metaverse, which will exist in virtual spaces. And we're going to install Beeple piece there and use that virtual space as a location for art galleries and also for live performances.
Wow. Okay. So you're creating a museum in the digital space, and you use
Yes.
some of the best designers to design this museum for you, which is all going to be in the digital space, and you're going to put up pieces of art there, and people can come and perform there.
Yes. Virtually. And it's accessible. It's accessible through your browser. That's the best part. You don't need like high funda VR goggles to do that, or some powerful rig and all that.
Those places, right?
Yeah, just a link and you can experience all of that stuff.
Wow. I mean, I think that I can't even grasp, the magnitude of what you are trying to tell me. I don't know how it is. How others are understanding what Anand is trying to sell us. He's saying he's going to employ some of the best architects in the world to create a virtual museum in which he's going to put up these pieces of art and where we can go and perform. I mean, it's amazing, Anand. I can't quite imagine what you guys even thought of. I mean, how ahead of time is this whole idea, right? So
fortunately for us, we won't have to imagine it much longer, because it's the NFT space. I can show and tell. I can share links of those things with you that I'm talking about, and we can all be part of the experience.
Okay. But where do you think we can access more of the work that you do?
There is metaverse.fund as a website, but I will send you some information separately also, which I think would be useful to your audience here also. They can take a look at the work that we're doing, some of the ideas that we're working on as well.
Okay. So Nilakshi says, I would love to jump in and work with you, Anand. Nilakshi is a brilliant movie maker. It'd be good for you to connect with her. So that's amazing. So tell me something. This last question, okay, final. So this is, unless you guys have some questions, guys, if you want to put in. But my last question is that, see, we are in this physical world, things happen, lockdown, we're traveling, I come over and we meet. So in the digital world, is it another world? Is it supposed to replace this physical world? Will people start just living out of their computers going forward? Because we went on a virtual holiday during the lockdown. We did a little session and we went on a virtual holiday to Egypt, right? The whole bunch of us who were there in this session. I don't know if you managed to drop in there. We went on a digital holiday to Egypt. There was a guide there. He took us around. He showed us the Sphinx. He showed us the pyramids and all of that. And we pretty much we're having a holiday looking into the computer. We having this conversation looking into a computer, right? Will the digital world pretty much replace the physical world? Will we also be able to smell things? Will we also start able to, I don't know, how far will this go?
I don't think it is ever meant to replace the physical world. There's no point, right? It's only for your eyes. That's all you can see. But the power of the NFT space in the virtual world is that it allows you to make these interesting connections with people from all corners of the world. But then you have to take those forward in the real world. For 2 years, blocked by the pandemic, I forged some incredible relationships with over 100 artists and creators and stuff. But when I traveled to the US and to Mexico a couple of months ago, the sensation of actually meeting them face to face and connecting with them was unparalleled. Nothing can replace that. Nothing can replace a physical experience. So when you walk into the virtual space, don't look at it as an alternative to the physical world, just as something that enhances it, something that gives you new windows into new spaces which you haven't been before. That's it.
Okay, great, nice. So Ganesh has one question. He's asking me in direct message. So do you still play the role of an angel investor to fund new DeFi projects with practical use case? So that's a question.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, you still
do. We do.
Great. Ganesh, do you have a follow-up question? He's answered, yes, we do. How do we reach out to you? You have an email.
You can write to me at tubadur@metaverse.fund.
Tubadur at
metaverse.fund.
.fund, is it?
Yes.
Okay, just look into the chat and I have it right.
That's the one. That's the one.
Subhadur at metaverse.fun. Send him a message and he might respond to you. Okay. So I think this was amazing, guys. What do you think? What was, if you have some quick feedback, please do share what your thoughts are on this month's meeting of the 10 Crore League. Something on the chat box so we know whether this was useful to you. I'm going to come back and ask for more ideas for the upcoming sessions, but we will talk about that later. You said if you make a handsome profit, asked Chandru Daswani.
What was the question?
He says, would you sell if you make a handsome profit?
Well, maybe if someone offered us $1 billion, we'd consider it, because I think it's $1 billion piece. So if you have that lying around, you can drop me an email. Otherwise, no.
Have $1 billion, please reach out to him. He's willing to sell his people, please. Okay, good. Okay.
Willing to consider it.
Consider it. Okay, so of course, yes, willing to consider it. Great. Nitesh says, excellent session. Bishesh is again asking me a question on direct message. Can you please help understand what exactly Amitabh Bachchan ji did with NFT so that we understand the concept of NFT more clearly? I think DYOR is the answer, right?
Yes, absolutely. Because I haven't followed that particular story, so I'll leave you to discover it on your own.
Cover it on your own. But I think you understood the concept of NFT, right? You create a piece of art or something that's unique, and then you have an NFT that shows that this is yours, and then right? And then there is a financial value to it, and people might buy it. So that's what it is. Great, superb. So I think this is amazing. Thank you very much, Anand, for joining us, and it's been incredible talking to you. Excellent session. Too much depth. Thanks. Was pretty helpful to understand what's going on around. Yes, guys, keep your mind open. Intelligent investors think through their investment decisions, but they never close their minds. They keep their mind open to options, opportunities, and only those people who are a little ahead of time. You may not have to be too much ahead of time, but don't catch up with technology and things that are going. Actually, what we're doing now is only catching up. I think everybody is only catching up, like how you said, but this is amazing. So thank you very much, Anand. We really appreciate you taking this time off, and just the tip of the iceberg, like Sharad says. So thank you. And bye-bye, guys. Have a great September. Happy Ganpati to all of you. Enjoy the last few days of monsoons and take care, get vaccinated, and cheer for India's fourth test. Right? Okay. See you guys. Bye-bye. Have a great weekend, all of you. Bye.
Okay, you too. Cheers.
Thank you.